Spring training numbers don't matter. 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 Luis Robert Jr. has a whiff rate of 7.4% through spring training already, and I'm losing my mind on CHGO White Sox. Welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, being produced. All right, I give Joey more leeway on the sound effects, and we're already playing them before I even introduce them.
That's for you. That's not for me.
Okay, being produced today by Joey Christopoulos. What's for you?
Oh, nothing. I don't earn the applause yet.
Now you familiarize yourself with the sound effects.
Well,
you're already introducing it in the first bit. So why don't you put one for yourself? Because you're not going to make me... There you go. That's better.
Yeah, much better.
All right. We're excited to talk White Sox baseball with you. We're going to be talking about Luis Robert Jr.'s hot start to 2025 in spring. We'll talk about Justin Ishbia's current process to reportedly increase his stake in the Chicago White Sox. There are some people wondering why there wasn't news on Friday, and I think I have uncovered the answer for you fine folks at home. And then we'll talk about Grant Taylor and Davis Martin. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Our guy Ian from across the pond. What time is it in London? Do you know, Joey?
I do not.
Do you have the world clock on your phone?
No.
I would have to guess that it's probably, like 8 hours ahead, so it's probably midnight already for our guy Ian, and no, it's 10 o'clock. All right, so it's, late night watch. I'm basically his Conan O'Brien. What a poor guy. All right, he says, all right, Sean, is Fuller already having a positive impact? I think it's too early to tell. The one person that I am going to talk about is Luis Robert Jr., and that person notably has their own swing coach. So I don't know if he is feeling the Ryan Fuller effect exactly. I don't think we've seen a single piece from the reporters down in spring training yet talking to Ryan Fuller. So I'm really unaware of Ryan Fuller's effect so far. And I mostly think that his work will be with the lower level players. I think Luis Robert Jr. is fairly faithful to his swing coach. And I think it's more of Luis Robert Jr. never lost the talent from 2023. It was just a terrible situation in 2024. He didn't show up like he did in 2023. There wasn't that same lock-in from him like there was in 2023. So far through 2025, I think he's locked in, and I'm very impressed with what we've seen so far. So I don't think that it is necessarily a Ryan Fuller thing yet, or at least we need to figure out what Ryan Fuller is doing specifically. Because what he hit today, there was no StatCast data. Mike Tauchman's homer was 109.9. I think Luis Robert Jr.'s is probably 115, the launch angle of 55, and I think it's currently orbiting Earth. So congratulations to that baseball. It is the first one to experience intergalactic's too tough.
Interdimension?
Whatever. It's orbiting it's orbiting the Earth. You get the joke? All right. But it was an impressive home run. No StatCast data, but he looks locked in, and it was just a mistake. It was a slider, curveball, breaking ball that really did not break, hung up about chest high, and Luis Robert Jr. destroyed it, a la the Mike Fiers home run from the 2020 wild card game. Not a lot of people talk about that home run. Not enough people talk about that home run. I literally broke a pair of headphones because of that home run. Joey, you're new. Why would I tell you this story? There's been no reason to tell this story. Cut and clips, they usually do at 670 The Score. This would be, October of 2020? So post-pandemic, so there is the ability to sit in the same room with somebody because we've been, the only places we're going is in and out of work. So we were, still sitting in the same room. I think it was me and Tanny as he was prepping his afternoon show. And Luis Robert Jr. hits that home run up to Davis Mountain. And I, like Gronk, take my very expensive headphones, like $100 headphones, and just naturally spike them and say a profanity. And I truly knocked like the actual headphone piece and cracked the plastic itself. So I was very proud of myself that my fandom took me to a level of meatballishness that was costing my wallet money.
Was that the Dane Dunning game?
Well, it might have been game 2.
I do remember that home run.
I think it was game 2 because I watched game 3 at my house. I don't think I was at work for that one. White Sox beat the A's. Home run, Luis Robert Jr., Mike Fiers. So it would have been that one. Yeah. So that was Fiers and Dane Dunning. And then Crochet comes in, and then Crochet goes out. And then Carlos Rodon comes in that game, and he's terrible. Carlos Rodon, of all people, who then in 2021 is our ace. What a guy. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that was the beginning of the end for Ricky. At least for me personally, maybe earlier for others.
But no, why? No, we're not. Hold on.
Yeah.
You're new here. No. Slow down. Slow down with that face. I wish we could put you on the FaceTime. I'm gonna listen to a story of Vernon Maxwell talking crap in the Rockets talking ish in the Rockets locker room, and Hakeem Olajuwon coming over them and with his massive hand smacking Vernon Maxwell, and Vernon Maxwell just like truly being knocked out from this guy's hand.
You're gonna massive hand me?
I would hope. What? So tell me about your Ricky Renteria hate. What, you wanted him to go to a better player? I mean, what'd you want him to do in that game?
Well, first of all, I thought bringing in Rodon was silly. And second of all, I thought he bailed on Dunning, and I thought the whole concept of him rolling out the rotation was completely mismanaged. And I understand that it was early and it was the year before the year, if you will. But I think it was one of those moments when you began to realize I don't think Ricky Renteria was long to take that team, and that whole A to B narrative and mentality. I thought it rose to the surface in that series.
I think it's a very difficult year to judge managers in 2020, especially when one of the second guy coming or the first guy coming out of the bullpen is a guy that has never made a major league debut, never played minor league baseball, is making his first ever advanced baseball play beyond college in the major league level.
Yeah, why did they do that?
Because he threw 101. Wasn't a bad idea, just got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing too. Look at what that guy turned into. I mean, it's not a bad idea for Ricky Renteria to say, hey, let's have this guy throw. And I think they were thinking, it's the postseason. Let's just see what we got for him. He ends up getting hurt, and that's why he doesn't pitch more. But, if Crochet is decent, or not decent, got 2 strikeouts and 2 batters faced. But, if he lasts and he's able to, pitch well, I mean, Ricky Renteria proves you wrong. And egg on your face.
Yeah, well, and La Russa did the same thing with Rodon and other decisions and so on and so forth. La Russa definitely wasn't the move. But that I just remember that game kind of being the moment where I was like, maybe Ricky is a little too big for the moment for Ricky.
No. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. No, it's him having to go to washed Carlos Rodon and them relying on Carlos Rodon and maybe just not going to him. Because I think he taught you in Cleveland, I probably shouldn't be on this roster. But what are they going to do? Go to the taxi squad? It was a weird year. So I feel like he shouldn't have been fired. I feel like if you're not going to hire AJ Hinch, let Ricky Renteria go into 2021, and we're not going to relitigate Tony La Russa because, just going to have my blood pressure spike. All right, if you have any questions, Joey's going to favorite them, and he's going to make sure that they get noticed. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We have a Bull show coming up later today, and I think Sarah said she's here for a show at 10 o'clock because the Blackhawks are playing the Kings. So if you're up for some reason watching Blackhawks and Kings, God bless you. And Mario and Jay have you covered along with Sarah on that show. All right, so Luis Robert Jr. Robert, so far, has a whiff rate of 7.4%. 67 pitches seen, 5 pitches where he's completely swung and missed at. His lowest in a season before that was 2022. It's 15.2%. I think last year he was around 20%. He's really lucky to be kind of even under 20%. I feel like last year it was pretty egregious. This year it's to the point where it seems like, again, don't count your eggs before they hatch. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because it's only been 65 pitches. If I had the ability to search StatCast for Luis Robert Jr.'s best 65 pitches in his career with his lowest whiff percentage, my wife would not see me. So it's a good thing that StatCast hasn't implemented that. I'm just very excited for the fact that this player looks locked in and determined. I think he's very well aware of the fact that if he plays well, he can get traded. We just saw with Seth Jones that he was saying he didn't know what he was signing up for with the Blackhawks, and after 4 years, he's finally sick of it and wants out. I don't think Luis Robert Jr. has the cachet to say those exact words like Seth Jones, but I think he's showing you with his determination that this guy wants out. I think you saw with his lack of buy-in last year, at the end of last year, that he really wasn't risking it and really locking in each and every game because he knew the fate of this team. I think he realizes that he has a fresh start, and if he plays well enough, a team will come knocking because they're already knocking. The best news for us White Sox fans, because I don't think there's a way that they end up keeping him. I think he is gone before the trade deadline, and I think probably late June, early July, because I think they get someone to bite. And Ryan's saying, I keep saying Robert will be top 5 in MVP voting. I would love to see him finish like top 10 in both leagues. You know, as a Manny Ramirez situation, I think he did that with the Red Sox. And I don't think you can actually finish that with the American League, but he's just so good in the American League before they trade him, like 29 bombs, 300 plus average, right? He's so good. He gets top 10 votes for the American League for his first half. I mean, he's so good in the second half. He gets MVP votes for that other team.
I feel like CC Sabathia also, when he was traded to the Brewers, also got Cy Young votes on both sides as well.
Good call. That's a good call. Look at you. That's Joey right there.
That's me.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good. But Antoine's right. If Robert is healthy, he should be gone by June. And I think he wants to be gone by June. And I think if you're seeing a player that the biggest issue with him that is controllable, I don't think Luis Robert Jr. wants to be healthy or hurt. I think he would love to be healthy. We saw the determination to play over 100 games in 2023. He was an all-star, had his best season. I think if he could do that in 2024, he would have. And I think him rounding first base early in April really took the wind out of his sails because he was like, oh, here we go again. This team's terrible. My guys are injured with Eloy and Yohan Moncada. Now I'm hurt. He comes back in June, and I just don't think there was really that buy-in. He's healthy, and it seems like he's bought in. And I'm very excited about Luis Robert Jr. carrying that into June because if he has a good April, I think that is going to be the best sign for the Chicago White Sox. That's typically his second worst month. In 71 games in April, a 241 batting average, 279 on-base percentage, 435 slugging percentage. That's a 714 OPS, second worst out of all the months. September and October is the worst, 647 for Luis Robert Jr. That does not take in postseason stats, so his bomb off Mike Fiers does not count in that October number. But his OPS plus compared to his career numbers in April is an 80. It's worse in September and October. It's a 66. But then in May, it's 137. In June, it's 115. In July, it's 105. And in August, it's 112. So he really, if he starts the year heated up, he skips that whole April kind of funk. He had a good 11 games in 2023, and then he was really bad to end April, but then he bounced right back at the start of May. If he skips all of that and he's locked in like he currently is in spring training, people are going to come calling. I mean, they already are calling, but what the White Sox want is practically what the Blackhawks wanted. They wanted to eat the less amount of money possible on Seth Jones's deal. They end up eating 25% of Seth Jones's deal. The White Sox can eat zero money. I think they'd be thrilled. And then they're also looking for a top 5 prospect of an organization. I think you'd get the 5th prospect of an organization. But what they care about, I think, mainly is the money. Just not having to eat any of the $15 million or the $2 million buyout that might have to be used on Luis Robert Jr. But the guy can play defense. The guy was stealing bases last year. He just needs to get on base to steal those bases. And if he's making contact, he's not swinging and missing. We know how far these balls can go off of this monster's bat. So I'd be thrilled. Joey's telling me to break. I just want to read this. If there was a number to go for, if he had a swinging strike percent of 10%, this year, 5 less than last year. That puts him around players like Vaughn, funnily enough, Bobby Witt, Anthony Volpe, Cody Bellinger, Josh Naylor, Jose Altuve, right? He's no longer in the top 50 of highest swing percentages in Major League Baseball. If we're dreaming and he wants to keep up this spring training number, Juan Soto is at a nice 7.4%. So if we really want to dream, if you want to be delusional, Juan Soto sits at 105 with a 7.4. That's where spring training Luis Robert sits right now. So imagine this guy, but just Juan Soto. He could play defense. He could steal bases. He might be worth $1 million. We'll talk about Justin Ishbia next. We got to let you know about our friends over at Cornbread Hemp, America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. Our mission at Cornbread Hemp is to improve your quality of life with the highest quality of hemp. Some days winding down feels impossible. Joey, you were watching the Oscars yesterday. I was watching the Oscars yesterday, and I started to panic because at 9:30, my Hulu stream went out. And I said, oh no, there's 4 women in my house that are desperately trying to watch Mikey Madsen's acceptance award for the Oscars. So I needed to go on the high seas and find a stream of ABC. And I found it, but boy, was my high blood pressure spiked. And you know what I needed? I needed a little gummy. I needed to take my time, and I needed to relax. And I needed to say, after my standing ovation from these 4 women, let's calm down. We're upstairs neighbors. People are going to hate us if we start clapping at 10 o'clock. I went into the other room, popped a gummy, and I had a nice night. I urge you to try America's first USDA organic THC gummy with our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. They're America's only USDA organic THC gummy. They're made with real THC and organic ingredients. There's no synthetics involved. It's 100% legal, and it ships directly to your door. It's perfect for unwinding, kicking back, and enjoying the moment without alcohol or the hangover. So if you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. Right now, as a special offer for CHGO listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use promo code CHGO at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Lucy. It's 100% pure nicotine that's always tobacco-free. Lucy Breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken to open and release extra flavor and hydration. They are a very fun product with a ton of different flavors. And if you want to try them all, they have a variety pack. They have a pack that includes the apple ice, the mango, and the mint. They have a pack that includes the berry citrus, the espresso, and apple cider. And if you're getting crazy, you could just order all of the flavors, the apple ice, mango, mint, berry citrus, espresso, or apple cider. You can even just get a 6-pack of your favorite flavor in your favorite strength, whether 4 milligrams or 8 milligrams. I was talking to our guy, Chris Pankow, over there. He loves the Breaker, the nice little hydration boost that you get from the Breakers. So level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/CHGO and use promo code CHGO2025 to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co and use code CHGO2025 to get 20% off your order. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. All right, Ryan Lambert is asking in the chat, and Joey, feel free to go on a run here. All right, we're going to get into Justin Ishbia in just a second. We are also going to talk about Davis Martin and Jonathan Cannon. I think there's a question from Victor Von Doom. We'll get to that in a second. We'll answer Ryan's first, sticking on Luis Robert Jr. Go any Luis Robert Jr. questions, Joe, and then end on that Martin one, because then we can go to our graphics. But Ryan asking, could you see Robert being traded within the division only to the Kansas City Royals? Who's playing center? Is it Riley Green in center for the Detroit Tigers? Maybe the Tigers. The Twins are too broke. The whole idea for the Chicago White Sox unloading Luis Robert Jr. is not eating money. The last thing that the Twins, especially now with Justin Ishbia, abandoning them at the altar, and the Pohlad family just left to own a baseball team, I don't think that the Twins could afford him. So I don't think that they would trade him to Minnesota. I don't think Cleveland is going to be able to afford Luis Robert Jr., especially with their now owner passing away at 94 years old. You got an influx there, or not an influx, but you just have a situation influx. That's what I'm trying to say over there in Cleveland. So I don't think that they're going to be that active. I would be more positive on Kansas City. I don't know if Detroit can even contend. to be honest with you. I don't think they have the pitching, and I think they got fairly lucky to even be in the wild card last year with their great finish in August and September. I don't even think Detroit's going to be that competitive. I think Kansas City's probably going to win this division. I think Cleveland's going to be second. I think Minnesota and Detroit are going to be a distant third and fourth, and then I think you're going to have your Chicago White Sox in fifth and last place.
Question for you. With the Detroit Tigers supposedly, allegedly offering Alex Bregman $170 million, do you think that was PR window dressing, or do you think now they actually really do have that money to spend? And now could Luis Robert be a part of some of that money that they would invest in because they had earmarked that to possibly spend on Bregman?
But I think they have to be good at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be good at the trade deadline at that point to make that move. And I don't think we're going to be good at the trade deadline. And then also, I mean, where were the Cubs at with that number? With the Bregman number? It was like 4-100.
They did a 4 for 120. Yeah. He ended up signing for 3.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you're a Detroit Tigers fan, you're saying, hey, if you offered Bregman $170 million, where is that money now going? That would be the question there. Will Luis Robert be a part of that?
I think it's just to be active and maybe get a player that's undervalued. I think Luis Robert Jr. is going to have a little bit of a feeding frenzy, which is going to up his value, hopefully, for the Chicago White Sox and us fans. But I think they're trying to, leverage a wanted asset rather than Bregman, who people are practically playing hot potato with. All right, let's get into more questions here. I think there was one more. Can you go back into the all comments? Victor saying, I don't see a trade with Cleveland for Robert Jr. That organization is so frugal with prospects similar to the Orioles. Yeah, I don't see Cleveland being active there. And Antoine saying, not too keen on Casey's prospects, but they do have enough for an LRJ trade. Again, I'm not saying that they have enough. I'm just saying if there's a team that could be in that position, it would be the Royals. I don't think the Royals or any AL Central team will trade for Luis Robert Jr. I think if the Astros are competitive, they could look for a game changer, and that could possibly be Luis Robert Jr. I think Dana Brown would spend every asset possible to get Luis Robert Jr. He seems fairly reckless, and so does Jim Crane. I think if the Mariners are competitive, I think they could be aggressive at the trade deadline. I mean, you look at the AL East, I wouldn't put it past the New York Yankees on trying to get Luis Robert Jr. I wouldn't put it past the Orioles on getting Luis Robert Jr. And if the Blue Jays are competitive, they could be looking for a center fielder. I mean, it's not terrible to move Dalton Varsho to right field. He's a pretty good fielder. And I think Springer would just move to DH. So I don't think that it's going to be an AL Central team trading for Luis Robert Jr. Kevin Shannon saying, 4 women in your house. Do you have a reverse new girl situation here? No. My wife surprised me with her friends coming over for a party. So I was a nice husband and said, sure. And we have 17 likes and 38 viewers. Shout out Fetty Wap.
And then you got a standing ovation because you solved the issue.
Yes.
And you said, it's not me. It's Cornbread.
No, and I'm like, and I literally was thinking of texting my wife, man, they're getting loud. Man, it's 10 o'clock. We're upstairs neighbors. We got to quiet down a little bit. And then I get like a cheering roar from these women. I'm like, woo.
Can we take it down to like a 6?
It's tough. Brandon Reyes saying, are you excited about drafting Max Beleu? I'm all in. Brandon, you are more all in than I am. I do not know who that is. I'm in on Pierce Coppola, the lefty from Florida. But I will look up Max right now and see what's up with him. He's a lefty, bats lefty, throws righty. He's 21 years old from the University of Texas. He's a right fielder, left fielder, and center fielder. He was at Cape Cod Baseball League for Summer League Baseball and did pretty poorly. 222 average, 307 on base percentage, 352 slugging percentage. It's only 54 at bats, 2 home runs. That's important because they use wood bats. So it's, interesting because they're pretty much using like military grade aluminum bats in college at this point. I would like to see what he does with a wood bat like he would at the major league level. But in 44 at-bats with Texas so far, 477 batting average, a 540 on base percentage, and a 750 slugging percentage. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not too much of a stolen base threat. 2 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing, and then last year in 210 appearances, 3 stolen bases, 2 caught stealing. So he's fine. I haven't seen much about him, so I'm not going crazy or I'm not all in like you are, Brandon. But hey, maybe he's a second round guy. Joey, can we get to some other questions? Unless Victor is the next one up. Victor says, Sean, do you think Davis Martin is going to be the opening day starter, or are you still confident on Jonathan Cannon being the opening day starter? I don't think that spring training numbers matter too much. The one thing that I have heard from our guy Elijah Evans, who you should go follow, Elijah Ev 8. He said that Cannon seems to be a little bit of a leader in that clubhouse. And I want you to throw this out. Yes, Davis Martin might be the better of the two at the current moment, but there was talks this offseason from fans saying, maybe we should trade Davis Martin. We're trading Garrett Crochet, maybe we should trade Davis Martin. I think Jonathan Cannon's going to be here this year. And I think Jonathan Cannon's going to be here next year. I think there should be something to sustainability. Now, that's not the word I'm looking for, but, stability. Like, I would like to have the same guy start opening day in 2 straight seasons. Am I wrong for that? I think Jonathan Cannon's going to be here next year. I don't know if Davis Martin is going to be here next year. If he's talented enough, they might just trade him at the deadline. Is Davis Martin going to be here on the next great Chicago White Sox team? I don't think so. So Martin's been impressive. Don't get me wrong. You want to flash the Martin graphic that we have?
Sure do.
Joseph. Oh, you sure do. Yeah, I'm excited for you. Antoine says Cannon, Martin, Perez are my options. Those are absolutely the 3 guys that are going to be in the rotation. I don't know if they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be fighting for the opening day starter. I think it's mainly Cannon and Martin, but we'll see. But let's look at Davis real quick. This is from @TJStats on Twitter. Please go follow him. He's fantastic. He does all this work, and I can't do it. So I'm so glad that he's here to do it. He did talk, and that's Davis Martin, talk about adding a sinker. You could see that he threw 1. It's mainly just to give it a different look. I believe it's a faster velocity than most, or it's actually 2 less than his typical velocity. I can't see, but I think it looks like his 4-seam is 94 and his sinker's around 92.
Yeah, 92.6.
But it's mainly just to show a difference to righties, something that comes in on them rather than going away from them, like the slider and the cutter does. But if you want to notice, the slider thrown 14 times, the 4-seam thrown 13 times, the changeup thrown 7 times, and the cutter thrown 4 times. If you go look at grade on the right, all of those above 50. And if you go to the 2080 grade, 50 is average. This is a starting pitcher with 4 average to above average pitches. This is a guy that can get people out. And if he's the opening day starter, I'm not upset. If it's Jonathan Cannon, I'm not upset. I'm just excited that there's multiple options and they're not terrible. So I think Martin's been very impressive. It seems like that kick changeup is a true capital T thing. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I'm also excited to see what Jonathan Cannon does. Cannon also has been working on things. There was a talk with his last one. Jared Willis had the short on our YouTube channel. He talked that he was throwing a lot of sweepers to try to get lefties out. So he's really working on a pitch. I don't know if Cannon's spring stats are true to what he'll be in the regular season because we know he's working on things. With Luis Robert Jr., if he's saying, I'm trying to work on swinging and missing less, and he's doing it and he's hitting the hell out of the ball, like that's kind of like, oh, okay, it seems like it's picking up. But when Jonathan Cannon's like, well, I'm just getting work in and I'm just trying things, I think Cannon's going to end up still being the guy for them come opening day. All right, any other questions or should I get to the Grant Taylor stuff?
We got a couple just really quick.
Louis says, are we going to ever retain anyone? Haha, no. Is that good?
Couldn't even get it up.
Yeah. Brian Bannister had a quote to James Fegan. I think it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It was a very depressing and deflating comment that he talked about. We need to be quick with development because we won't hold these guys for very long. So if you see a pitcher that's very good, Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, Grant Taylor, if they're good for 4 years, they're probably not going to be here for their 5th and 6th years because they're going to be valuable and they could probably flip him around. And then Fat Hipster saying, can Lenyn Sosa play shortstop? No, but he can play first base. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him in left field. And honestly, with all the guys getting hurt, Benintendi being hurt and out for 4 to 6 weeks, and now with Austin Slater being scratched because of an oblique, we haven't seen Colson Montgomery in 6 days because of his lingering back issue. Great. I think that they'll probably or possibly just consider Lenina as a DH. Woohoo! That Venezuelan League baseball should have played off. All right, final stuff here. We are about to wrap on the Fast channel, so make sure that you are becoming a diehard today if you haven't already. Hit that QR code. We're going to have a very important day tomorrow, but we got a ton of great things to offer you, like our diehard Discord channel. We got great exclusive content, especially with the NFL draft coming up for our diehards. You also get a shirt of your choice when you sign up, but go sign up, and we're going to be hanging out here for a second on the YouTube channel, so stick around. But Justin Ishbia is a name that's growing around Chicago. People are growing very, very fond of, but people were a little taken back on why there wasn't news come Friday. We did have Jared Willis down in spring, and I asked him, hey, did you hear anything on Friday about Ishbia? And he said, no. But I think we were reading it wrong. So if we go back to the John Greenberg and Dan Hayes piece of The Athletic, where they talked about Ishbia abandoning the Twins ownership and pursuing increasing his White Sox stake, this is a paragraph. White Sox limited partners were recently informed that an investor wanted to buy their shares at a franchise valuation around $1.8 billion, according to people briefed on the discussions who were not authorized to speak publicly. While they aren't required to sell, their stakes would be diluted by this new investor. The deadline for the decision is next Friday. The Athletic has confirmed the buyer is Ishbia, who had been a limited partner for the team of years, or of the team for years. The deadline for the partners was last Friday. So they could still be compiling of who is selling, who is not. So I don't think that, again, we should have been looking at Friday as a deal of Ishbia is going to be increasing his ownership on that day. I think it's a process that is way over my head. I went to a Southside Catholic Blue school. You're not going to have me explain baseball ownership from a way that it's like diluted between several partners. I'm not smart enough for that, people. But I think I am smart enough to think that I think the deadline for those people to tell was Friday. And I think we're probably going to get more information this week because they'll finally get a true number that they can go to Ishbia and say, hey, these are the amount of stakes that you're buying valued at $1.8 billion. This is how we're going to split up the money, yada, 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 yada. So if you're worried about Justin Ishbia's inclusion with the Chicago White Sox and him increasing his ownership, don't be. I think it's a process that will play out before opening day over the next 3 weeks. Finally, in good news, Grant Taylor exists. Can we flash the Grant Taylor stuff?
Let's do it. My pleasure.
Let's do it. Joe, and round up any more questions. If there's any other questions, please let us know. Swaggy McNoleg says, cool graphics and stats. Again, thank you to @TJ_Stats. He posts these on X. He does a fantastic job. Very, very, very happy to always use his graphics, and very, very happy to always credit his work because I did not create this. He did. Grant Taylor throws fastballs, baby. He throws a four-seamer, he throws a cutter, and he throws a sinker. He threw apparently one sinker, he threw 7 cutters, and he threw 9 four-seam fastballs. And the two numbers that I want you to really focus in on, because obviously the velocity is crazy. He throws 100 miles per hour. Sick. But the extension is very, 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 very important. Nearly 7 feet, 2 inches, 3 inches consistently on that extension. He is getting very, very far off that mound. He is shrinking that distance from the mound to the batter's box. And not only is he shrinking that distance, he's throwing 100. So that 100 looks like 102, 103. And you could see the TJ Stuff Plus at 116 for his four-seam, which on the 20 to 80 scale grades to a 72 grade fastball.
That's good.
I don't know. I think he like, folks, at worst, we got a reliever. Like, at worst, Grant Taylor will be a reliever for the Chicago White Sox. He throws a disgusting fastball. I could watch it for days, and I am thrilled to watch his 50% chase rate, and I think 63.8% whiff rate. Woohoo, Grant Taylor. I don't know if he's a starter, though. So maybe that's a little womp womp. Grant Taylor, just looking at his stats at LSU, really didn't start much. He had, I think, 3 outings. 3 outings of over 4 outings. I promise you it's 4. 4 outings of over 4 innings pitched or more. On March 18th, 4 innings pitched, 62 pitches thrown. On March 27th, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 83 pitches thrown. You also have 4 innings pitched on April 10th, 66 pitches thrown. And then on May 7th of 2022, 4 innings pitched, 81 pitches. And then when you look at his stats last year when he was throwing, it was, I think, 4 starts of 4 innings pitched and then 1 3 1/3. So I'm not sold on him having the true stamina to be a closer, or sorry, the true stamina to be a starter. But if they realize that this year in 2025, opening day is Grant Taylor your closer, I wouldn't be against it. Antoine's not against it. Grant Taylor, you are my new closer. It seems like they have a piece to their next future team in Grant Taylor. No idea if he's a rotation piece or a bullpen piece, but if he's healthy, that dude's a major leaguer, and you should be pumped for it. Please, 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 please hit that thumbs up button. We got 34 viewers and 20 likes. Those other 14 people, do it for Paul Konerko. Please hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel, the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We got a Bull show coming up. We got a Blackhawk show coming up. I'll be back tomorrow for another show at 4 p.m. Thank you to Joey Christopoulos for producing the show. And we will be here at 4 p.m. on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We'll talk to you then. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.